Hey guys, Septa here, and today I'm going to be platinuming High on Life, and I just want to say before we get into this video, the audio is delayed here. I have no idea why, but it's fixed in my next two videos, so for this one, just bear with me. So the audio for like the whole game will be muted, but anyway, let's get into it. So we start the game off in the menu as you saw, and in this retro video game type thing, which is a video game inside of a video game, as we learn in a few seconds here. We then meet our sister, where we select our character on her mirror with some coke on it. And this is right before the aliens invade, right here. And they slime this dealer dude, who has the most important character in the game, Kenny, who is basically just this talking pistol, who spits on us so that we can understand him and all the other aliens of his species, which are known as Gatlians. I don't know why, but we start straight into combat, and I really like it. But then we enter the house again and go to space, and we enter this city known as Blim City. I know, it's a weird name, but this is basically the hub of the story for the rest of the game. Next we meet the retired bounty hunter Gene, who is a really big douche, but he's very important for the story. The first thing Gene does for us is give us the bounty machine, which lets us do all the bounties in the game, because basically we're a bounty hunter if you didn't know. And our first bounty is Torg, who is in the slums of Blim City. So we go there and we get our first trophy by shooting a kid. So he's very annoying. Trust me, he deserves it. And there's a trophy. So I'm not evil. I'm not evil, but there was a trophy, and he was very annoying. So this is the first trophy of the platinum. While fighting some enemies, I used the glob shot mixed with a bunch of regular shots to get this trophy. And then after this, we go to a enemy weapons deal, where we get our second Gatling of the playthrough, Knifey, who's also the most useful because he can kill enemies like this and traverse through vines. Then we finally meet Torg, who's just a big ant, really, and she has this big stupid arm, and it's in a vat of acid. I'm not going to show too much of the boss fights, because they're really the same thing, so here's just her dead. She's slimed. And then we gotta collect something off of each of the bosses, so we take one of her little ant arm things on her side. Then we get another trophy, which is actually unmissable, and this one would have been really annoying. But we take Knifey, and upon his request, we stab Gene in the gut, and he screams or whatever. But I love this trophy because Gene's a douche throughout the whole game. So the fact that you get to stab him and you get a trophy for it is great. And there we go. Don't knife the hand that feeds you. Now I'm going to talk about other planets. So this is a futuristic space game, so we go to other planets, and I'm not going to show the planet exploration because it's just a bunch of me not talking. But basically, this is like a city and a desert type planet, but we're going off for other members of the cartel that Torg was a part of, and this guy's name is Douglas, who tricked us into helping him, and then we fight him as our boss. And I actually had to do this. I did the other level first, but I had to reset my game from the start so that I could get a missable trophy that's coming up. But this is essentially the whole boss fight, and then I slime him too and take his I think I take his tentacle. But G3 Graduation is the name of that trophy, and then we get another Gatling. After grabbing his tentacle, we grab his gun, Sweezy, where we get another trophy. We basically get a trophy for every single weapon we collect, but she's definitely my least favorite. Then we head to the next planet, which is like an exotic space, rainforest, which this is definitely my favorite of the two planets, and we spend a lot of time here. There's 3 bosses at this space, but right now, we're just going for, I think his name's Krubis. He's this driller guy because they're mining for these things called Fergals, which are furry animals, I guess, and they use them as drugs. But I pop Ice Cream U-Screen for shooting those little guys' eyes out. Then we get to that missable trophy I was talking about, where basically you need Sweezy first, but she'll boss these workers around and make them kiss each other and do all this weird stuff. But the funniest one is funny because she tells them to all murder each other, and they just don't listen and they leave, and we get a trophy. But if you're getting this platinum, beware of that. Then we reach Krubis, who, as I said, is a driller guy. He doesn't pose much of a challenge, like, at all. He just pops up in the ground like this, and then you just shoot him over and over again. And here's me slamming him. He's definitely nowhere near the hardest boss, but he's one of the more annoying ones, just because he's a bum. But he has the... No, I'm not going to say the best Gatling, but he has one of the best Gatlings in the game. It's a shotgun, and we snatch his drill, you know, as our memento. But yeah, his shotgun is so good, and its second ability lets us traverse through different areas, and it's amazing. You get to blow their heads off, and by far my favorite Gatling in the game. To add to the things I like about the shotgun, he looks like a lizard, and his name is Gus, which, I don't know, I just love the name Gus. Since we've been doing so good as a bounty hunter, the mayor of Blim City talks about us on the news and asks to meet us to give us more bounties, so we meet him here, and basically he just gives us the other endgame, bounties, and at the end, it's like the second to last trophy we get, but he has a very dark secret behind him, which makes me not like him, but at the start, he's just weird. Here is by far the weirdest setup for a trophy ever. We need to buy alien fertilizer, as you could call it, from an alien. But I won't talk too much about that because it's weird and I don't know how much YouTube will like that. But after this, we sleep and get a jetpack and a trophy called Are You Packing? Which, another reason I'm kind of glad the audio has to be muted is because the stuff they say in the trophies in this game are just not cool for YouTube. But the jetpack is one of the best things in the game. I mean, look at this. Look at this. We head to the drugstore called High on Life to look for information on the next boss, Dr. Giblets, which will send us back to the rainforest, but we find the mag boots, a very useful item for getting around, and the RIP Davy Glutes trophy, because that's the man that owned the mag boots. But as I said, back inside of the rainforest biome, we have to track down a bunch of clues, and it's really annoying, but it leads us to the boss. And he's really not a good dude. Like, he does experiments on a bunch of different creatures, and it was very creepy going through. Then we finally meet Mr. Giblets, and in a very anticlimactic way, he kills himself and bleeds out on the floor in front of us. But I was really expecting a hard boss fight because we had to go through a ton of work to actually find him. But we get the trophy hardest battle in the game for beating him. And the game does throw a little bit of a plot twist on us because when we go to grab his, like, item, well, the floor falls and we have to fight waves and waves of the G3, like, cannon fodder enemies, which isn't too bad, but it's kind of just annoying because I was very excited to not have to fight. But as I said, the fighting is not hard at all. Like, as you can see, it's just shooting very weak enemies. But at the end, he does realize he killed himself and goes on a funny little rant about how he hates himself and wants to kill himself. And during the actual fighting, he lists off a bunch of the other bosses that we fought and are gonna fight, thinking that they killed him. But we move on. We actually find 2 Gatlings after this boss fight. The first one, Let's Do It, is broken and we can't use him till later. But he's very good. By far the best Gatling in the game, as you'll see in the last mission, which is when we actually get to use him. But him and this next Gatling were being experimented on by Dr. Giblets. And this is the other one, Creature. He was mutated on a lot, and his ability is to shoot his kids out of his back, and they, like, go just destroy stuff. He's super good and super funny, but we get the trophy Creature feature for grabbing him. Because this boss is in the same area, I'm just gonna skip over 90% of it, but basically you have to fight the Skrendel brothers, and you have to fight each of them on their own, and then they all team up, and this is really all the gameplay for all the bosses, but especially these ones, is you really just fly around with the jetpack and spam Gus and Creature. But I really enjoyed this boss fight just because of how easy it was. Because, you know, Dr. Giblets was boring, but it was also kind of difficult. Definitely not as difficult as the final boss, but it was, this one was a nice break. But eventually, after a couple tries, I do take down all 3 brothers. And as I said, not too hard, but we get the Who's the Boss trophy. And something I'm going to talk about quickly is there was a side story with your character's sister and this alien that she was dating. But as we go to talk about him, we have to go to a space Applebee's, and Kenny tells us that he's the reason that all of his species are dead or trapped. But at the end of this, we get a missable trophy, which is very hard to miss, but it is missable. And it's right here where we just pay the bill at Applebee's and get eaten good in the neighborhood. Second to last boss is back in the desert area inside of a giant, drug spa place where everyone's just doing drugs. But it's filled with a bunch of G3 enemies. And in fact, the guy we're fighting, Nipulon, as you can see, he is the second in command of the entire cartel. And he has very big nipples. And the fight with him at the start is very straightforward. But he throws in one of the best mechanics in the game and one of my favorite parts of a boss fight ever. After we beat the crap out of him, as I'm sure you can see by his health, it looks like we're gonna, beat the crap out of him. But he laces us with drugs. He just gives us, I don't know what drug this is, but he gives us drugs and we start tripping balls for the whole boss fight. Like, look at this. We're seeing parts of Blim City over and over again. We talk to... we go down through the hole in the ground, and we have to shoot a bunch of small versions of him. It's just really trippy and weird and very unexpected. But the other parts of the boss fight, you literally just shoot his heads and the tiny Nipulons that are floating around. But as weird as it was, this is a great feature, and I loved it. And in fact, you get a random trophy because he's talking about, oh yeah, you play Fortnite, and he gives you spent 15 hours at the Totally Real Alien strip club, which is just hilarious to me. Then after the trip ends, we have all the Gatlians, and we just shoot down a hallway, and well, we kill him. We just keep spamming, and it was basically a big trip. And I'm still confused on this because, as you'll see in a second, he's just dead. So I don't know what actually happened in the real world while we were tripping out, because it just doesn't make any sense. We stab him, then we come to, and there's blood absolutely everywhere. But there's no anything. So we get the self-actualization trophy. But there's blood everywhere, and I don't understand how that happens. So if the devs are somehow seeing this, please tell me. After slamming Nipulon and getting his nipple, we get Let's Do It with the trophy of the same name, after Gene fixed him up while we killed Nipulon, and we are about to enter the final boss fight, Garmantua, or whatever, the guy from the start, and this is Earth. This is what they changed. If you want to go back to the start of the video, you could compare and contrast, but this is Let's Do It. He is the best Gatlian in the whole game. Just look at how I fry them. He's so good. And he has just a cooldown. He's like a, very powerful minigun that goes on cooldown a lot. But you can only use him in this mission, and he's neat. As we're fighting through Earth, which is short and boring, so I'm not going to show too much of it, we get another trophy, which is for the story. But the guy that was talking to us the whole time, I didn't mention him, but his name's Pseudo, and we got serious rap on Pseudo because he left. But we fight the biggin, Garmantuous, who's disabled. He's in his flying wheelchair, and he shoots fart balls at us, which I don't know why, but this is essentially the whole boss. He just shoots the fart bubbles at you, and you dodge him with the jetpack and shoot him. As I said, the reason I don't show most of the boss fights is because you just shoot the boss in jetpack. But look at how powerful Let's Do It is. I mean, he is the best. But I just want to say while we're here fighting him, this game is so fun, so I recommend playing it yourself. And eventually, we knock him out of his wheelchair, and we get him on the ground where he just slimes around and throws goop on the ground. And he's very, very easy to kill. And Legendary Bounty Hunter, which is the trophy for beating the game. And earlier, Gene gave us a bomb to put inside of Garmantuous, which we had to pick one of the characters to put it up his butt. Which I'm I don't know how well this is gonna go with YouTube, but there's a very miserable trophy to shove another Gatlian up his butt to make it go off. So I chose Sweezy because I hate her, but we get the missable trophy for this, and I'm just not even gonna show it. And Sweezy blows the bomb up. And, well, we get playing favorites, and Garmantuous's feces and guts go everywhere, and it's really disgusting. Now, at first I thought that whoever I put in would die, that's why I chose Sweezy, but she does not die, and she falls and hits the ground, but she's covered in poop. Like, she's covered. And it's absolutely disgusting. I don't know why they included all this in the game. I really don't. During the credits for the game, we get a trophy because we acquired the alien batter earlier, so we get carried stands load to completion. Very missable trophy, but it was, I don't know, such a random trophy to get. But another trophy I've been setting up was Globo, who's this guy whose head is a butt, and whenever he talks, it farts. But I purchased him a drum, and if you keep talking to him saying he's doing good, he'll play it on the TV after you beat the game, and you get a trophy for it. A Starfish is Born, which I think is a good ending to a side story and a nice missable trophy. Now for one of the things I love most about this game. The only things you have to do post-game is the collectibles, and there's only 4, and some miscellaneous. So one of them is warp bases, which I won't show because a lot of them are really stupid, but you get one trophy for one specific one, which is the movie theater, which we get, and the movie theater actually works. There's actually a movie you can watch in there. I didn't watch it, but if you have the game on your own, you can go ahead and do it. But I'll briefly talk about the other collectibles. There's these things called Lug boxes, which are like living creatures you knife open. There's trading cards, which are in the Lug boxes. And then there's these bounty hunter forms, which are like challenges. The next thing I got was the Lug boxes. Inside of this hut, you have to open up all the other ones to get. But these were, it took me forever to find them. But after exploring this, we get seeing all the sights, which is the first collectible done, being the warp bases. The next thing I got was the Lug boxes, which, just a tip for anyone going for this platinum, once you get to a certain point in the game, they'll teleport to the Galadian planet that all the guns used to live at, and there's a Lug box out in the dangerous area. You'll die if you go, but this is the one I saved for last, and you just grab the loot and you get Lug Genocide, which, not a very good trophy name, but the trophy takes hours, so I recommend finding a guide. And the last cards, which there's 2 in the store, just a tip, but that is where you get all the playing cards, is in the store and in the Lug box. Then that secret I told you guys about. During the story, you get a key card to Human Haven, which is where the mayor guy puts all of the humans that you can bring back. But there's a dark secret here, which is not cool for YouTube. And I wanna let you guys experience it for yourself. So if you're gonna play this game, definitely do it post game. And there's also a trophy that you'll see coming up tied to it. But it's sequel bait, as the trophy says, but a sequel will never come out because Justin Roiland beat his kids, and there's sequel bait, the trophy. Then we have the worst trophy of all time. You have to sit here for, not kidding, 10 to 15 minutes waiting for this show to come on. You gotta reload saves, and then you gotta wait for him to count down, and then he calls you a dipshit. But you get a trophy, which it should pop any second, but yeah, epic legendary prize. Sit through the entirety of a really annoying countdown TV show. Worst trophy. Now finally, we have the moment you've all been waiting for, the platinum. However, I do want to apologize that the audio is not in sync because you're not going to get to hear the amazing sound of platinum trophy popping. But I do just want to mention that, like, what's going forward for my channel. I have 2 more platinum videos recorded and 11 funny moments videos recorded. So I'm going to be trying to lock in on the platinum video editing and the editing for the other videos. But just be ready because I'm not quitting. All right, I'm back. I'm prime again. But here we just need to buy upgrades. And I should talk about the other challenges. A lot of the other ones is just killing enemies, but we get Mods Please Ban and come on, Call Your Loved Ones, the platinum trophy, which is really over-exaggerating itself because the platinum took me 12 hours and it was supposed to take 25. So I recommend this platinum. It was very fun, but it took me about 14 hours to do. And I'll thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.